Welcome back everyone. Today I'm just going to do a review on this Snow Peak pile driver because I need somewhere to hang this lantern tonight to be able to see what I'm cooking. I'm going to use this pile driver to enable me to put my lantern above the fire. With this bottom spike, the pointy end that goes in the ground, I usually mark or a marker about 30 centimetres or 1 foot, 12 inches. And that way you know once you come up to this line, it's a foot in the ground. They just screw in a lock up to adjust your height, but the ends have been burred over, or the ends of the threads here, so you can only undo them so far. Put that on there, like so. I'll go through a bit of a rundown how to do this properly so you don't hurt yourself. Put this down. The Snow Peak pile driver consists of 3 pieces. You've got the pile driver itself, which is basically a hollow tube more than 3/4 of the way, and then there's a solid, looks like stainless steel, solid rod that's fused or welded to the tubing here, and that acts as your hammer. And then the middle tube here is just a basically hollow tube with a wing nut on there that locks on. And the bottom piece of tubing is basically hollow, once again with another wing nut on there to adjust your height. And then down the bottom there's a solid spike there that's welded onto this tubing here. So when this first pile driver part of it goes through the middle tube and travels through here and hits that solid spike, which then gives you penetration into the ground. Okay, this is the rubber cap that protects the spike when you're in transit, so that just slips on there like so. You've got to be careful though, it's quite easy to lose when you pull it out sometimes because that just slips off. 1780 grams with the scales there, all 3 sections sitting on the scales. Okay, there's a couple of things to be mindful of here is when you're adjusting this or driving it in, just don't put your fingers in there. And when you're actually pile driving it in, this bit's sliding. Some people have been known to put their hands in there, right in there, tear up their fingers. So what I do, you either wear gloves and hold on tight so your fingers don't slip in down and get into there as you're driving it in, or you get the actual lantern holder itself, what I do here, and I usually put my fingers in there like so, and then I can drive it. So that's like a finger guard there. That method I just showed you a second ago with using this as a guard when you're driving it in, if you're in really hard ground, the actual shock, because you're not getting the penetration like a soft ground, it tends to reburr back here and your knuckles tend to hit on here, and it can be quite painful. So it might be just a matter of using your thumb on the end here or wearing gloves. Basically the rule is keep your fingers away from this part here as it goes in, because it will chop your fingers. For this distance here, from the pole out to here is about 200 mil or 8 inches. Sometimes when you've got really hard packed ground and this thing is going to really struggle to drive it in, what you can do is get a pull the peg out, and then just helps drive it in. And because Because the ground's so hard here, you don't always have to drive it into the full depth of a foot or 30 centimetres. So I've only gone halfway in, that's more than strong enough, and really, this is like a really hard clay compacted ground. When you're removing the pile drive from the ground, especially in this situation where it's really tight in the ground, instead of trying to struggle with it, or don't just bend it like that, because it's only thin tube here, it will kink. So you just got to spin it around in circles like that, loosen it up, give it a bit of a twist, and you'll get it out. All right, when setting your maximum height, I usually just come up a couple of inches, put a mark there. So when you bring it up, you look for that mark, and then you can do it up there. Otherwise, if you're just guessing, it can easily come out, and when you've got a heavy lantern on the end, it tends to overbalance. Then you're into all sorts of troubles then. With the second extension, which is a top extension, which is the actual pile driver itself here, I usually do the same thing, put a mark wherever. I could probably even come it down 2 inches. Okay, these Snow Peak pile drivers in Australia are about $188 delivered from Amazon. In America, they're about $65 US plus freight. So if you're in America and there's a store nearby that's got them, definitely $65 is good buying. But in Australia, I think, yeah, Amazon delivered, because I couldn't find any locally, because I bought this about 5 years ago from Drifter when they were in Brendale, and I can't remember what I paid. It was about $100, $120. So basically, they're really good. I've had this, like I said, 5 years, and it's been great by me. A little bit of surface rust forming here and there, which I'll show you. As you can see, it is only chrome plated steel here. You can see little bits of rust forming. For what it is, it's quite good. And once again, I keep repeating myself, just be mindful of your fingers. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.